Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, then welcome. If you're feeling the urge to refresh your home for spring, but you don't necessarily want to buy more decor, then this video is for you. My name is Allie, and today I'm refreshing my home for spring using only what I already own. No hauls today, no new decor, just some small changes and thoughtful swaps that make everything feel lighter and more intentional for the season. Spring decorating doesn't have to mean adding more. Sometimes it's just about some rearranging, some removing, and some refining of what we already have. Doing this helps me to give my home a nice refresh while also being able to see more clearly what items might need to be replaced, what items I might need more of, and where I have gaps in my spring decor. And as you're watching today, let me know down below in the comments if this is something that you do as well, or maybe if it's something that you like to do before going out and purchasing anything for the season of spring. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so the first thing that I always do when I'm redecorating for the season of spring is to remove visual weight. So because winter tends to feel layered, cozy, a little bit heavier, think thicker textiles, darker tones, fuller arrangements. So I start out by subtracting. I'll remove chunky knits, all the darker accents I see, and anything that feels just visually dense. And I also remove anything that reflects a winter holiday like Valentine's Day, or maybe if there's anything left over from Christmas. Even just taking away one layer instantly makes a space breathe, and it helps you to see more clearly how you feel in the space and if there's anything else that you can then add back in for the season of spring. So in this case, I'm removing those winter wreaths. Those were actually left over from Christmas, and I usually do keep those up through February just because they are very wintry and it usually feels a little too early for spring. But lately, I've been feeling like I'm ready for these spring wreaths. These are wreaths that I've been putting up for the last several years. They were a Target purchase, and they're just pretty simple. There's nothing overly spring about them. There's no bold colors. There's no tulips or anything like that, but they just add in that lighter pop of green that I'm always looking for and really just starting to crave during this time of year. Next, I shop my own home. Maybe you also have a storage closet where you keep some of your decor. Maybe it's just a small amount in a drawer. It really doesn't matter, but go back to those pieces that you currently aren't using and see if you can rotate any of them out to just bring some life into new areas. I know sometimes when I've put a piece away for just even a few weeks and then I go back and look for it again, it feels kind of like it's brand new. I also like to keep a bin full of things like moss and other bowl filler. That just really helps me to freshen up a space when I feel like I'm craving a change. I have a bin where I store some of my dried florals, so I went ahead and looked in here because I want to see if there's anything that I can pull together with these neutral pieces. And again, these are pieces that don't scream spring just yet. They have like an invitation that spring is coming, but really no bright colors. Again, no tulips, nothing crazy for spring. I also like to pull out my pillow covers from previous seasons and just sort of take a look through, see if there's anything that I can reuse again for this season. Sometimes I put pieces away and maybe there's a damage on the zipper. So I just sort of come in here and reevaluate and see if there's anything that needs replacing. I did share in my most recent video where I did the spring edit this bin and I pulled out some of the pieces. So I'm looking through them again now to see if there's anything that I feel like bringing out. These are stems from last year, so again, just evaluating the quality of them and if I'm feeling like anything can come out now for spring. Sometimes a piece doesn't need replacing necessarily, it just needs relocating. So moving a vase, for example, from your kitchen over to your entryway, or maybe shifting artwork to a different wall, suddenly makes everything feel new without you having to go purchase anything or add anything. And it's amazing how different something can feel in a new context. One thing that I always love to do when I'm feeling bored in a space or if I feel like I just need a change is I change the height of something. So you saw previously I had a tall vase on my kitchen table. Well, now I decided to shift into a piece of lower decor, something that is not as tall to the eye, that has less height. So in this case, I brought my dough bowl out of my closet and I'm just playing with some of the greenery that I had in my bin here. I started with a pop of that brighter green garland. Now I have a few picks that I purchased from Hobby Lobby. These are the faux eucalyptus picks. And now I'm just adding in some succulents for that pop of color. That again is not overly spring, but just signals that the season is coming. And I really do love now how this is lower, so there's nothing that's sticking straight up, there's nothing obstructing any view, and it just feels nice and clean and fresh for the season. You can also swap out pillow covers to reflect the lightness of spring and just bring in that really subtle pop of color. Step 3 for me is to edit. So instead of adding in spring decor, I edit items out. So I'll remove one or two items from shelves and just let the remaining pieces breathe. Spring feels lighter, and negative space is one of the easiest ways to create that lighter feeling. Sometimes you don't necessarily need more, you just might need less. Step 4 for me is to restyle now what's already here. So I'm restyling with intention right now our living room coffee table. So when you do this, you can maybe change the layering order of things. You can swap out stems using stems that you already own. Maybe just take stems from one vase and swap them into another. Maybe I change the height balance on a table. Sometimes I'll use fewer stems just to give it more of that airy look, which is what I'm doing here. So in this case, I really like this lighter color green, and I think just changing that color tone is a great way to freshen up this coffee table. I'm also using a little trick here. I'm taking a chip clip and I'm chip clipping two stems together just because I wanted them to have that fuller feeling in the center rather than just sort of splaying out and hanging over the sides of the vase. And to fill things out a little bit more and keep that light and airy look, I'm bringing in a few of my Cosmo stems from last year as well. I think having these sweet, pretty little dainty stems just sort of peeking out is such a great way to invite spring to the coffee table area. And sometimes when I'm rearranging a surface like this, I change the direction that everything is facing. So right now I'm rearranging it so that it's facing from the view that we're looking at from our fireplace. But sometimes I'll style the coffee table to be facing us as we're sitting on the sofa. So I've removed the marble book stand here and I've removed those two large hurricane taper candle holders. And I'm just replacing it with a singular candle holder in that antique style. And again, removing that visual weight is just a really great way to open things up and let things breathe for the season. And swapping out the scent of your candles to reflect the new season is really just another great way to signal the change of decor in your home. If you like having a little structure when you refresh your home, I actually created a free spring decor planner that walks you through this exact process, editing, planning, and visualizing before decorating. And I'll link it down below for you if you want to use it alongside your own home refresh this spring. In this case, in our hallway, I decided to add in the two snowball hydrangea stems, and I'm just adding them in, mixing them in with the existing greenery here. And I think that this works because the greenery that I had here is not very dense. It's a little bit more light and airy. It's a little bit more open and spacious. So I think just mixing these stems in gives a good color variation and brings that fresher look for the season. Next, I focus on light and texture. So that means maybe opening the curtains wider in certain spaces. I like to remove heavier textiles and really just let the natural light become part of the styling. Spring is less about adding florals everywhere and more about letting your home feel fresh and calm. So I tend to wipe down surfaces when I'm getting ready to decorate for spring. And in this case, I'm returning that candelabra to the table. I love that piece here. And I'm bringing my pedestal bowl here, but instead of having the heavier winter florals that I did have inside of it, I'm going to be adding some simple moss here. So I'm starting by adding in some plastic bags and filler to the bottom of it. And then I'm just going to be adding in some moss to the top to give it that sort of rounded look. And when it comes to styling with moss, I like purchasing a few different color tones and then mixing those in together. That's what helps to give it a more natural, realistic feel. But overall, I really just love the softness that the moss brings without having to add giant stems in every room because, again, sometimes you really just need that touch of softness and that addition of green without going big with stems. I went and found another wreath that I had in my storage that I used from last year during the season of spring. And I really like that this one just offers a really nice natural touch over the range on our stove. And then I grabbed a piece of artwork from last year as well, and I'm using that just to cover our outlet here. I found this little mini vase, and you might remember from the beginning of the video when I went into the bin and found all my dried florals. So I grabbed a few of them and I just snipped them nice and low so that they sat beautifully inside this little vase just to add a little pop of something and refresh this area next to our kitchen stove.
So, as you've seen, refreshing your home for spring it doesn't have to feel rushed, doesn't have to be expensive or overwhelming. And a few thoughtful, small changes can really shift the way that your space feels. So, I would love to know down below in the comments, are you adding new pieces to your decor this season? Are you refreshing what you already have first? Let me know down below. And if you did like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. It's a free way to support my channel, and I really appreciate it. And if you want more content like this, make sure that you're subscribed to my channel and that you have your notifications turned on so that you never miss a video. I do have more spring decorating videos coming down the line and you don't want to miss those. Thanks again so much for being here. I'm so happy that you guys have spent some time with me today here on YouTube, and I will see you next time. Take care.